This is going to be a tutorial about ionic compounds, naming them, and specifically we're going to be talking about the A block metals. So what are the A block metals? Well, let's take a look here at our periodic table. If you notice, I've colored in a section of our periodic table and I labeled it A. These are called our A block metals. So in case you forgot, our metals are located beneath the staircase. And these in particular are A block metals. What about these metals? Well, these you know are called the transitional metals. We're going to talk about those later. Those are going to be called the B block metals. So let's start with our A block metals. Today we're going to be looking at sodium, magnesium, and calcium. Okay, let's start with an example. Here we go. What if I give you this formula and I ask you to name it? That's what we're doing today. Well, first of all, you should identify that it's an ionic compound. Because remember, ionic compounds are metals bonding with nonmetals. So how do I know that's a metal with a nonmetal? I should use my periodic table. Find sodium, it's a metal. And chloride's over here on the other side, a nonmetal. If you noticed, I'm using an A block metal. Sodium is an A block metal. Okay? I'm also going to be talking about calcium chloride today. Calcium chloride is also an ionic compound, metal, and chloride's a nonmetal. Calcium is also an A block metal found right here. And my last example today is going to be magnesium. So here is magnesium, located right here on the periodic table in the A block. Notice these particular metals found in these A blocks are going to all have the same rule that we talk about today. So let's begin. How do I name something like NaCl? Well, I notice that Na is my metal and Cl is my nonmetal. And this is something you should know. In ionic compounds, the metal always comes first, and then the nonmetal, always. Or we could say the cation comes first, and then the anion. You always want to write your cation first, and then your anion. That is always true. Remember, all metals are cations, and all nonmetals are anions. All right, good. Well, watch how I name this. This is called sodium chloride. Sodium is just the name I found on the periodic table for the metal. Chloride came from chlorine. So chlorine is the name of Cl on the periodic table. I took the ending and I changed it into chloride. All right, so let's take a look at another example. Here is our second one we were talking about. I've got CaCl2. CaCl2. Ca is my metal. Cl is my nonmetal. Look on your periodic table so you know. Look how I name this. Calcium chloride. So the metal just received the name on the periodic table. The nonmetal had the ending changed again to "ide." All right, so we seem to be forming a rule. Let's get that rule down. Remember, metal comes first, non-metal comes second. The metal keeps its name from the periodic table. PT stands for periodic table. Same name from the periodic table. I just copied it down. That is true. The non-metal, we dropped the ending and we added IDE. That is always true. So let's take a look at one more example seen here. Mg3N2. Wow, there are a lot of subscripts here. Was anything mentioned about subscripts in the names? No. So there is no rule when it comes to the subscripts for ionic compounds in the A block. So I don't have to worry about them. So I notice I have the metal and I have a nonmetal. The metal keeps its name as seen on the periodic table. Magnesium. The nonmetal, well, it was nitrogen, and it's going to turn into nitride. Nitrogen turns into nitride. There you go. That's it. So, to summarize, a metal bonding with a nonmetal is an ionic compound. We're specifically talking about metals from the A block. We looked at these compounds, and we noticed their metals, which were circled here, were all found in the A block. A block, A block, A block. And even if they were in this A block, same rule. That's the end.